All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the All in Clark County virtual forum on sustainable water systems. My name is Olivia Burns, and I am a sustainability planner with Kim Lundgren Associates, a consultant supporting the Department of Environment and Sustainability on the All in Clark County initiative. Today's presentation, we will review the All in initiative, climate change, water systems, resources, and the county community plan for action. You may have joined us for our previous two forums, but I will mention the following objectives for this session, which are to review how climate change affects water systems in Clark County, describe how our actions can contribute to water sustainability and resilience, share the water-related goals, strategies, and actions that have been adopted in the All-In Community Plan. Now that we are live streaming on public input, I will share a few more ways that you could react on this virtual forum. You could interact by calling in on the phone and texting in. This entire meeting page and the live audio can be translated into any language of your choice by pressing the closed caption button. Other options include calling in to hear audio by dialing that 855 number. You're able to leave voicemails and general comments also on that number. You can write comments in the chat box on the right side of the meeting live stream. You're able to text in your comments on the presentation and your responses to the survey questions that we will review later on in the presentation. If you experience any technical difficulties, please post a comment in the chat and we will get to you as soon as we can. A bit of background on All in Clark County before we dive into the sustainable water systems topic. All in Clark County is a dual phase plan led by the Department of Environment and Sustainability. All in is an initiative to address climate change and create a sustainable community for all. We are embarking on this effort so that Clark County will be a safe and resilient place for future generations. Now, this is our first break we have during the presentation before we really dive into climate change and water systems. We will be looking at live results from the quick poll questions. You can access these questions by scrolling down underneath the live stream video where you'll see and can answer the questions. We will now take a minute and we'll look at the results together. Okay, the first question is, how long have you lived or worked in Clark County? Less than a year, 1 to 5 years, 6 to 10, 11 to 20, more than 21, or are you a frequent visitor or a part-time resident? All right, looks like about 67% of us are lived here for 1 to 5 years, and some of us are frequent visitors. Welcome. The next question, what 3 words come to mind when you think about the current state of water systems in Clark County? Water systems include our natural watersheds, like the Las Vegas Wash, our water resources, and the infrastructure that treats and distributes water throughout our community. I'll give you a few more seconds to answer this. One of the comments is drought, conservation, and evaporation are the 3 words that come to mind when they think about the current state of our current water systems. Next question. Oh, it looks like these are testing your knowledge, then we'll get to these a little bit later. So we'll go back to the presentation. Thank you. Just one more moment and I'll pull up my screen. Now we're going to take a close look at how climate change is impacting the water systems here in Southern Nevada. Changing climate conditions, such as temperature and rainfall patterns, are the main drivers that lead to climate hazards. These changing conditions lead to heat waves, heavy rain, flooding, and periods of drought here in Clark County and all over the world. Impacts from hazards can and already affect our community, our economy, public health, well-being, and the infrastructure and resources we depend on. It's also very important to note that climate impacts do not affect populations evenly. Certain members of our community will be impacted directly and indirectly more by some hazards. Equity is one of Allen's guiding principles, and it is critical that we bring in everyone to the climate conversation so that our solutions work for everyone and do not make any existing inequalities worse. We have a virtual forum about Southern Nevada's climate change, and you can learn more about that and find the recording on allinclarkcounty.com or the Sustain Clark County YouTube page that will go more in depth of these climate hazards. We experience 4 main climate hazards here in Clark County that directly and indirectly impact our community, which are extreme heat, drought, flooding, and wildfires. If you're living or visiting Las Vegas, you should be aware that it is the fastest warming city in the US. For example, temperatures exceeding 100 degrees historically occur about 4 days a year. But because of these changing climate conditions, by mid-century, we could be seeing 30 days a year that reach over 106 degrees Fahrenheit. We are also projected to see worsening drought conditions and more frequent and extreme precipitation events, which causes flooding. And then our increase in smoke events and poor air quality days due to regional wildfires. As mentioned, climate hazards impact our infrastructure and facilities, both directly and indirectly, from our electricity, infrastructure to wastewater treatment and distribution to sanitation and waste management. All are vulnerable in some capacity to extreme heat, drought, wildfire, and flooding. "100% of Clark County's population is experiencing drought conditions. Impacts of this category of drought include potential harm to survival of desert plants. Wildlife may encounter residential areas in search for water or food. The water levels for our reservoirs continue to decline. Here's our current drought trends and projections. 78% of the West is experiencing moderate to exceptional drought, and the state of Nevada continues to be hit hard. We see a trend in a decade-long drought, and in 2021, we got the first ever water shortage on the Colorado River. Droughts are expected to get worse because extreme drought conditions are becoming more normal, making the 30 to 40-year mega droughts a realistic possibility. This drought index measures the long-term impacts of drought on natural water systems, for example, groundwater. We can see here that many years in a row of drought conditions and less time in between periods of drought. Drought is a normal climate pattern that has occurred in varying degrees of length, size, severity throughout history. Climate change is causing changes to precipitation and temperature patterns that exacerbate the drought conditions we experience. The 23-year-long Southwest megadrought is the region's driest period in at least 1,200 years. Human-caused climate change is responsible for about 42% of the soil moisture deficit since 2000. One of the primary reasons climate change is causing more severe droughts is that warmer temperatures are increasing evaporation, which dries out soil and vegetation. From 2000 to 2021, temperatures in the region were 1.64 degrees Fahrenheit higher than the average from 1950 to 1999. Snowpack is important to consider as the source of water that feeds the whole Colorado River system. Snow that accumulates in higher elevation mountains each winter predictably melts and run off into river systems, and groundwater that brings water to low elevation areas. We are seeing projections indicate that snowmelt is expected to decline by 30 to 50% by the year 2100. And 10 to 15% of precipitation expected to fall is rain rather than snow. Reducing levels of snowpack in the mountains over time has contributed to the decrease in water supply we now have in the lower basin region. While drought itself is a climate hazard caused by changing conditions, it has real impacts on our community. With projected continued drought, we can expect to see continued water shortages in Colorado River and Lake Mead. Water shortages impact everyone from our drinking water, energy systems, infrastructure, natural ecosystems, our cultural and spiritual practices, well-being, and the ways of life of regional tribes connected to these lands. Drought can impair water quality, increase salinity, and add higher concentration of pollutants and nutrients in our water system. Drought could also potentially increase costs for potable water, as well as exacerbate wildfire risk. Water is already such a precious resource for our community in Clark County, and the whole region is keenly aware of the dropping Lake Mead levels, which is Southern Nevada's only primary water source, Lake Mead. The first image is from August 2000, so we could see here. And that's the second image. That's from August 2021, just 1 year later. So I'm going to go back to that first image again so we could see the decline within just 1 year. Declining water levels and capacity of Lake Mead means not only do people and businesses of Clark County have to work harder to conserve this resource, other states, including Arizona and the country of Mexico, will receive cuts to the amount of water they are allowed to use per year. Between 2000 and 2021, overall snowfall and runoff into the basin were well below the historical average, representing the lowest 22-year period on record. And as of recent, the combined water shortage in the Colorado's River two primary reservoirs, which is Lake Mead and Lake Powell, was just at 32% capacity. Lake Mead itself, right now, is at 35% capacity. In 2021, the Secretary of Interior made the first ever shortage declaration, which will reduce the availability of Colorado River supplies to Nevada in 2020, so last year. Shortage reductions are in place to bolster Lake Mead water levels and preserve critical operations. So here again, 2021. Okay. While 100% of Clark County's population is experiencing extreme drought conditions, 90% of the Clark County population is in the special flood hazard area. These areas are seduced to flooding, which can cause blocked roadways, power outages, infrastructure, crop and habitat damages. Now we'll be discussing climate hazard flooding. While it can be counterintuitive to think about flooding in connection with drought and living in the desert, the climate changes we are experiencing make flash flooding more frequent and dangerous. We are going to see trends for precipitation to occur in less frequent but heavy rain events. And as little as a ½ inch of rain falling on Clark County will, in a 24-hour period, can result in flash flooding. Climate change is expected to increase the prevalence and severity of extreme precipitation events and flash flood risk. More precipitation expected to fall as rain rather than snow, again in our mountains, which will cause runoff. Flash flood risk at the peak daily runoff is expected to increase. By the end of the century, areas of the county, including in the Las Vegas metropolitan area, will experience up to 150 to 200% increase in peak daily runoff. The main source, flash flood risk. Urban expansion in the Las Vegas watershed is increasing in the region's water, flood exposure, and risk. The impacts to flooding, from damages to buildings, property and infrastructure, roadways, these are estimated 3.7 million annualized losses expected across Clark County's 5 metropolitan areas. Disruption to tourism, industry, and hospitality facilities. In addition to facility and activity risk, tourists may not be aware or prepared for flooding or any other climate hazards, such as our extreme heat. Flooding can cause injury, death, and other health risks. It's risk to unhoused populations living in the Las Vegas stormwater tunnel system. And runoff may increase pollution or erosion. Stormwater runoff from paved areas runs unfiltered into the Las Vegas wash. The water from urban runoff construction sites can carry pollutants like litter, sand, and chemicals. Preventing pollution and managing runoff keeps our water quality high. Features of our watershed, such as wetlands in the wash, act as a natural filter for the unfiltered runoff, treated wastewater and shallow groundwater that flow into the wash. Decades ago, the flows of the wash supported more than 2,000 acres of wetlands, but by the 1990s, only about 200 acres of wetlands remained. The dramatic loss of vegetation reduced both the wash's ability to support wildlife and serve as a natural water filter. The Las Vegas Wash Coordination Committee has accomplished a lot of improvements to stabilize and enhance the wash, as well as decrease the amount of pollution that runs into Lake Mead. The Clark County Regional Flood Control District strives to protect residents and property and the natural environment by managing flood infrastructure. To do this, they are completing projects in the master plan, which is already 75% complete, and will take 3 more decades to finish all the improvements, including 30 more detention basins and 200 miles of conveyance. And I'll just define these terms real fast. So detention basins are where they store water for a limited time to protect against flooding. And conveyance is natural channels of concrete or lined channels and storm drains that manage water flows during flooding. The infrastructure that will help manage our community's risk to flash flooding and work to preserve our water quality and the Washes ecosystem. This may be no surprise, but we have an increasing population in Clark County because Southern Nevada is a popular place to visit for many reasons, and it's becoming an increasingly attractive place to live and work. The population here in Clark County is projected to increase by over 860,000 new residents by 2060, and we can expect to host 45.6 million visitors per year. The growing size of our community and our visitors means additional need for all resources, including and especially water. The Southern Nevada Water Authority is planning for the future of water resources, taking into action factors like the potential impacts of continued drought and climate change on water resource availability, as well as the potential impacts of changing economic conditions, population, and water use patterns on long-term water demands. To plan for our future, SNWA assesses the water supply and demand and recommends solutions to continue providing enough safe water for our community while preserving the resource for the whole region. In order to meet long-term projected demands, SNWA has forecasted we will have to make significant and sustained progress towards our water conservation goals that we will dive into later on in the presentation. Planning scenarios show that the level of water conservation achieved is a critical factor that will impact the timing and need of temporary and future resources that are set aside for emergency. We know we will have to make progress toward our conservation goal of 86 gallons per capita day by 2035. There are measures being enacted to help reach conservation goals, including a non-functional turf ban. Non-functional turf is grass that no one steps on besides landscaping to manage it, meaning no one is on the grass for any leisure or sport activities for the area. Usually we see non-functional turf along roadways or business centers. This law does not apply to grass in homeowners' yards. This law requires non-functional grass to be removed by the end of 2026. This initiative will save our community an estimated 9.6 billion gallons of water per year. SNWA has rebates and education materials regarding this action and many other conservation measures that can save residents water and money. So I encourage you to head over there to their website for more information at snwa.com. While we have a roadmap in front of us for water conservation actions, we have already enjoyed success with water conservation and efficiency. Despite challenging drought conditions, 100% of our wastewater is recycled. If it goes down the drain, it is treated so that it can be returned safely to the natural watershed or used in irrigation. The county has already accomplished significant reductions in water use per person, even amidst significant population growth. In fact, there has been a 52% decrease in water use per person, while the population of Clark County grew by 48%. So the Nevada Water Authority has been instrumental in achieving these reductions through system improvements, new infrastructure, and rebates and programs for residences and businesses to conserve water. Water infrastructure. Water banking is a collaborative method to build temporary reserves and help stabilize Lake Mead water levels. Water banking and other collaborative drought response actions have reduced Lake Mead water level decline by an estimated 65 feet in 2021. SNWA completed construction of the low lake level pumping station in 2020. The pumping station works in conjunction with SNWA's Lake Mead intake number 3 to preserve Southern Nevada's access to Colorado water supplies to Lake Mead elevation of 875 feet. All this infrastructure and planning ensures that community members are not impacted more than they already are by future shortages. There are challenges to living in a desert during extreme drought conditions, but we can look at some opportunities for success. Approximately 60% of all of our water delivered by SNWA is consumed, primarily for landscape irrigation and cooling. Unlike water used indoors, water used outdoors for cooling is lost and cannot be treated or reused. While these water's uses are a challenge to our current conservation goals, they are an opportunity to work together to achieve our conservation goals and preserve our water supply. By working on what we have little more control over, demand. An example of how we can benefit from meeting current challenges is attracting new businesses and industries that are highly water efficient. This way, we can diversify our economy while not straining limited resources. SNWA and Clark County continue to collaborate in planning to meet these challenges while supporting our economy, community, and water systems. We will now briefly transition into greenhouse gas emissions. In 2019, Clark County Regional Greenhouse Gas Emissions was complete. This effort under the All-In Initiative identified the amount of greenhouse gases that were being emitted by the community, through what activities those greenhouse gases are emitted, and where those emissions were coming from, as Clark County also developed a city-by-city breakdown of emission sources. We can focus on the light blue area of the pie, where water treatment, delivery, and wastewater only account for 2.8% of total community greenhouse gas emissions. The county and the All-In Initiative know how crucial our water resources and infrastructure are. This inventory points us towards the most necessary and meaningful areas to reduce our carbon footprint. Building off what the county has already accomplished, they are working on projects like reducing energy and water use in buildings and facilities, transitioning the county fleet to low emission vehicles, and building sustainability and resilience into county operations. The county plan includes actions that will help the county dramatically reduce emissions and prepare government operations for climate impacts. Under the water conservation and protection key area of the government operations plan, the goals are to support policies, programs, and regional collaboration for improved water quality, water conservation, and drought management. You can learn more about the county operations plan at ops.allinclarkcounty.com. Now we're going to take a break and check out some of the results under the testing your knowledge section. We hope you learned something, or maybe you already knew the answer to some of these, but we'll review just a couple of the key takeaways from the session so far. I will now stop sharing my screen and pass it over to Danielle so she could share her screen so we could answer the questions together. All right, the first question, what is the current water level capacity of Lake Mead? 30%, 35%, 45, or 50? %. Nice. Most of us got that wrong. That's okay. You guessed 30%. It is 35%. Let's see if we could get the next question right. What percentage of Clark County is currently experiencing severe or moderate drought conditions? 15, 35, 80, or 100? Nevada's population and Clark County's are both experiencing 100% drought conditions. All right, next question. While the population of Southern Nevada has grown by 48% in recent years, what percentage decreases have we achieved in water use per person? 37, 40, 52, or 65%? $65%? Nice. We got a lot of responses for this one. Thank you. Next question. What percentage of total greenhouse gas emissions does the treatment and delivery of water and wastewater contribute? What percentage of total greenhouse gas emissions does the treatment and delivery of water and wastewater contribute? That was that blue section of the pie that we talked about. 1.2%. All right, thank you. Good to see my screen. All right. On April 4th, 2023, the Clark County Board of Commissioners approved the All-in Clark County Community Sustainability and Climate Action Plan. To ensure that this plan truly reflects the needs and priorities of the region, residents and stakeholders were engaged during every step of the process. The county conducted one of the most expansive community engagement processes of any county project in recent memory. They integrated the expertise, insights, and lived experiences of community members into the planning process through best practices. The All-in Community Plan has 6 key focus areas, and today we are focused on sustainable water systems. The All-in vision for this key area is conserving and protecting our water resources while developing sustainable systems for water delivery, stormwater management, and wastewater treatment. So what is a sustainable water system? It protects the quantity and quality of our water throughout our watershed. Programs and education to reduce water consumption and increase efficiency. Infrastructure for treating and distributing water, wastewater, and stormwater that is well maintained, efficient, and prepared for changing climate conditions. Now let's look into the specific goals and actions under the sustainable water systems key area within the all-in sustainability and climate action plan for the community. So goal 1 is that our water supply is high quality and sustainable. Underneath are the sub goals, which is protect and enhance the quality of Southern Nevada's water resources. Identify areas for targeted vegetation enhancement and restoration due to proximity to sensitive water resources. Establish pilot projects to explore innovative technologies for removing pollutants from non-point source runoff. Still on goal 1, but moving on to 1.2, improve Southern Nevada's resilience to drought, which includes transitioning all public property to drought resilient landscaping, establishing an energy efficiency review policy and process for new large water users that encourages efficient development and disincentivizes consumptive uses, and expand existing guidebooks and training on incorporating drought tolerant green infrastructure onto existing properties. Goal 2, Southern Nevada is a national leader on water conservation and efficiency. Reduce or eliminate consumptive water uses. Develop a program to transition industrial and commercial customers to efficient dry cooling technologies. Expand submetering and rates to comply with outdoor watering laws. Still on goal 2. Now on 2.2, require aggressive water conservation in new development. Develop and implement uniform regional performance standards to help local jurisdictions evaluate water demands of planned development. Develop tools and guidance for developers to estimate water demand of proposed projects and report results to local jurisdictions. Two 2.3 focuses on increasing water conservation in existing buildings. The sub goals are train and incentivize building tradespeople to identify and repair water leaks, and identify barriers to and implement solutions for participation in SNWA's commercial and industrial water efficient technology programs. Last goal, number 3, water and wastewater infrastructure is reliable, safe, resilient, and efficient. 3.1, enhance resilience of the water system and alignment of regional policies. Align all jurisdiction water policies and programs with existing studies and water resource plans. And ensure power grid redundancy for water and wastewater transmission systems. So those were all the 3 goals underneath the sustainable water systems key area in the sustainability community and climate action plan. So I gave you a few examples about what Clark County and the community are doing. This is a list of another couple examples, solutions that other communities have used to work towards more sustainable water systems. To work towards our vision of sustainable water systems, All In has developed solutions that the county can implement to achieve our goals. The stakeholder advisory group, who represented a diverse interests from within Clark County, as well as input for the community members, help shape the solutions in the community plan. This will be our last break to answer some prompts. You can share your thoughts on the Your Thoughts tab on this public input page. These questions will be open for the remainder of the form series for you. So take your time, think about it, and answer. These questions ask you what you think is important for Clark County to consider when implementing actions in this focus area. If you have a comment that you do not feel like belongs on this page, you can feel free to email us. All right, first question on the Your Thoughts tab. What actions have you already taken to support water conservation? Participated in SNWA rebate program to remove turf, smart irrigation controller, leak detector, or other SNWA rebates and incentives? Have you fixed leaks around your house or your business to save water? Made any landscaping more desert friendly with drought tolerant plants? Or others? You could leave a comment of your choice on other ways that you have already taken action to support water conservation. There's more resources to promote sustainable water systems. By visiting snwa.com, you could check out their different incentives and rebates. Looks like the audience, half of us have fixed a leak in their house or business to save water, and that they've switched out their landscaping for more desert-friendly plants. All right, the next question. You could drop a pin down on the public input page. So after intense rain events, where do you see local flooding that could potentially damage property or infrastructure or be a safety risk? So this question might take a little bit more time, especially if you think about it, doing the different cross streets or areas where businesses or residential areas isn't safe when it floods. Yeah, so when you drop the pin, you could leave a comment. You could even upload pictures if you have any of the flooding area or what we could do to improve that area. Great, next question is, if we accomplished our vision for sustainable water systems, what would the future look like in Clark County? And then the last question is, what barriers or equity considerations do you think the county should keep in mind when implementing the goals and strategies and actions for this focus area? Like I said, these questions will be open for the remainder of the forum series. So even after this live streaming, when you're watching the recording, you can go down, answer the prompts, and answer the questions. So thank you for answering those. I'll go back to the presentation so we could wrap some things up. This would be a good time to put any questions that you have in the chat box so we can answer them at the end. So we invite you to continue sharing your thoughts on this topic by answering the questions and prompts on this public input page. Thank you for tuning in with us so far. I'm just going to go over some more resources and ways you can get involved further in the All In Clark County initiative. You'll be able to find the recording on the same page shortly after the live stream ends. And it will also be available on the Sustain Clark County YouTube channel. Here's some resources. snwa.com has many resources, including tools to navigate your local water restrictions, water smart landscape rebate programs, car wash coupons, and more programs to help our community cut down on water usage and finance water efficiency projects. Feel free to also visit our webpage, allinclarkcounty.com, to learn more about how you can accomplish climate action here in Southern Nevada as well as download the community toolkit. As mentioned, we encourage you to stay involved with the All In initiative. Best way to do that is by following us on social media to stay updated. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Sustain Clark County. You can also sign up for email and text updates and find more information on allinclarkcounty.com. You're able to share this video after the recording is posted. You could share it with your friends and family or anyone who's interested in sustainable water systems. We have 2 more virtual forums coming up next week, so please join us for those as we dive into smart buildings and development and clean and reliable energy. The other virtual forums were on the 6 key areas of the community plan, all of which will be available on the public input page that they were presented on. The format for each forum or session is a brief presentation on the topic and then opportunities for you to answer questions and leave feedback. All sessions are live and also available with a recording later for more chances to answer the prompts and ask questions even further. Thank you for your attention and participation during this forum. Please continue to answer the questions on the public input page under the 3 tabs at the bottom: the quick poll, testing your knowledge, and your thoughts to help shape more implementation opportunities for the All-In Community Plan. This is the end of our presentation, but we will continue the live stream to answer any questions that may come up in the chat. Thank you again for participating in the Sustainable Water Systems Virtual Forum.